What's going on? It's JLS from Knick of Time Show. Here, give you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time and a little bit late because of technical difficulties, but that's okay because we're still here to quench your thirst talking about this 2022 Knicks draft. Before we get into it, you already know what it is. We gotta do an intro. First and foremost, below me you can see is my man from the YouTube channel across the street. I call him the Raw Metaphor. It is the Raw Hebrew Remnant. What's going on, Raw?
Man, getting the band together. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's about time we got back together. It's been a minute. I know you guys been starving. We here though, all right? Next up, we got my guy, who is the man, the myth, the legend, the guy with the stats and the facts. Ryan G is in the building. Ryan G, you gotta unmute your Zoom because we can't.
I did. Oh, my fault. Okay, Ryan G's in the building. My fault about that. Didn't know I was on mute. But yeah, I'm excited to get into the draft talk.
All right. And of course, we got our man of the hour, our draft expert. This guy, he's the first draft guy on the show. And popularity. Oh, Knicks Nation want to have him on the show. But it's good. I'm glad to see this guy win, man. He's making a name for himself, and he's back like he is every year talking Knicks with us. It is my man, Jake Rosen, who is been writing for the Step here and now is a basketball. He's creating content for Cerebral Sports, man. What's going on, Jake?
I mean, I'm not gonna let you try to pitch me on big time like that.
Oh, you big time?
No, no.
You big time.
I'm happy to be back. This is one of my favorite shows. I'm not even just saying that because you guys are here. It's a great energy. I always have a great time talking draft. Knicks as well. So it's a lot of good things are happening here at once. I'm excited to be back and let's talk some Knicks draft.
Let's do it. You heard it here first. The gunshots. This is one of his favorite shows. They don't even have to ask him. They don't have to coerce him. He just said it with his chest. And it must be true, damn it. It must be true.
Hey, they say we're echoing. Why are we echoing?
I got it. I switched it up. Yeah, I think I fixed it right now.
Okay.
All right.
Technical difficulties. All right, cool. Sorry, we back. It's been a little bit rusty, but we here. All right. So
yeah, we tuning it up. We good.
Yeah, we tuning it up. So
Yes,
let's get to it. Now, Jake, you've been doing this for a while. This season has been. First, I want to ask you, what is your draft philosophy this season for these New York Knicks? Because if you guys don't want to know, he's not just a draft guy. He's a Knicks fan. All right. He's a Knicks fan. So he's not. Oh, this is he's a guy who roots for Portland, and now we have he's a Knicks fan. All right. So when you're looking at how you're evaluating this year's draft, you know that we're drafting at 11. What are you looking at? What is your draft strategy for prospects this year? Because the consensus kind of is like, it's there's some guys here, but it's maybe not as deep or as talented as most drafts this year. I think that's what's been said this season. So how do you approach it?
I think in this draft especially, it's going to sound simplistic and really elementary, but get a good player. It's like really it's that simple for me. It's that this draft, what it definitely lacks, when you get outside the top three, I would say Ivy, Chet, and Paulo, my top three.
Mm-hmm.
You lack these creator bets where you can kind of take a swing for the fences and you get a little mix of tools and you get a little mix of production. This class doesn't really have that. It's a lot of forwards, and then you have some of your complementary wings like Johnny Davis, Dyson Daniels, AJ Griffin, kind of a couple of bigs that are hanging around the lotto, Jalen Duren, Mark Williams, but you don't really have those high-end playmakers or guys who are going to generate a lot of paint touches, or even players that are super depth like in pick and roll. Jalen Williams from Santa Clara has been like rising rapidly up the draft because he is like one of three players in the first round that can hit the roll out of a pick and roll. Like that's just not what this draft has. It doesn't have a lot of creators, but it does have players that you can stockpile and can be flexible and can shore up gaps in the wings, especially. So when I'm talking about going for good players, like capitalize on the 11th spot, be confident in your evaluation, whoever it is, and don't try to swing for the fences, don't try to overcomplicate things. Go get someone who you can predict being a part of your future. They don't necessarily need to be the cornerstone or even the secondary cornerstone,
Mm.
but just keep adding players. Because I think that it was on another Knicks podcast, and that's what we both agreed the Knicks had done a really good job over the past couple of years is actually getting value out of the players they draft. And it sounds so simple and so redundant, but how many years have the Knicks been drafting in the lottery in the top 10 and not get guys? I mean, we know the stat about second contracts.
Yeah. Charlie
So,
Walker's,
yeah.
Kevin Knox, Frank. I love Frank, but he's not a top 10 guy, you know. But
I mean, so like I think some Knicks fans, like the jury's still out on RJ Barrett on what his ultimate ceiling is, and I think some Knicks fans, I mean me included, are still kind of fiending for that like star punch in the draft. But I would say personally, like you're probably not going to get a good bet at 11, especially not this year. So do what you have been doing really well, which is, I mean, again, Obi Toppin, like are we going to look back on him and say he's the 8th best player? Maybe not. But what we can get is he's providing us with good minutes. He's been growing and he's shown some things. Like that's at some, you got to take that at face value and, you know, be happy with it. IQ, that's a really good, looking like really good value in the late first. So I think the Knicks have done a really good job of getting stuff out of their players. And it sounds so simple, but it's kind of easier said than done.
Yeah, shout out to Walt Perrin and those guys. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that.
Well, for myself, I am looking at this. It depends. If they move up, they can.
We're going to talk about that.
We're talking about 11. The move up is a different conversation.
I'm just saying. You asked in general.
Yeah.
Depends on where they're drafting. If they stay at 11, then I agree completely with what Jake just said. But if they don't, is opportunity. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, we can.
Is that knocking on the door? I hear opportunity. Is that you?
I mean, my plan A, assuming we're talking about the same guy in Jaden Ivey. If he's there at 4, that's my plan A is going up and trying to get him. I think we're going to talk about what you would give up to, because obviously it's going to be. I don't know how steep the price is going to be to move up from 4 to 11, but you're more than likely maybe a young player, maybe a future pick. We talked about before.
Yeah,
2023 draft is pretty strong. I'd be really hesitant to give up an unprotected or a top 3 protected. Top 5 is still a little dicey. But at some point, you got to take with what you know, and what we know is Jaden Ivey is a rapidly improving absolute future superstar, in my opinion, or at least he has the potential to do so. So Jaden Ivey, I'm sorry, is someone who kind of fits the needs that the Knicks are salivating over, which is a creator who can get into the paint. He's obviously box office when it comes to athleticism and dunks, but from a functional basketball standpoint, as someone who's going to create advantages, bend the defense, have the ball in his hands, but still be able to play off the ball a little bit. Obviously it's a little murky because we still do have Julius Randle on our team who takes up a lot of touches, and I think that's something we all kind of love to live in, a utopia where he doesn't exist, but he does. But I don't think that's necessarily something you should try to like. If you think Jaden Ivey is there for a reasonable price, like go get him and we can figure out the Randle stuff later. But I think it's very obvious that he's not going to be the number 1 option on a Knicks team moving forward that is going to be serious about competing or getting better or moving in the right direction. So I would go get him. That would be my. It's very possible that the price is too high and you don't want to do that, but it makes a lot of sense. And I know there's been some murmurs and rumors, so we'll see what happens.
To me, I mean, the dream for Knicks fans. I'm not sure how realistic it is not. And shout out to Raw. Raw did a video about this, about trading with the Sacramento Kings and pairing Julius Randle as a bonus. Clunky fit. But but we don't know what the price. That's the dream scenario for us.
We are talking about the Kings.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, if we're talking about the Kings, though, they've taken like 37 point guards.
But this is
and they've done.
They just traded Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah,
you're right, but they also just drafted him and paired him with, and they actually, at least mentally, make more sense in my mind.
That's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen the team do, and I don't know when. They just treated Halliburton. Oh my God.
It might be dumb, but at the end of the day, it's like they did have point guards there, though. You know what I mean? It's like they did have a surplus of point guards at least. So it's like if they let one go, it's like, okay, was Halliburton the right one to let go? That's another question.
No, you're right. You're right. When you're right, you're right. That's right. But Sabonis plays. He's 6'11". He plays the 5 as well, and he shoots the 3. So I don't know what's the big I don't know what the big problem is.
Defensively is a big problem for me, but
the whole team's a big problem. That whole team except Davion Mitchell is a big problem defensively. Maybe you're Sean Holmes. That's it. Right. They don't play defense.
But let's steal the conversation back to Jaden Ivey and less on that. Yeah. That was a fun side conversation because it's just like talking about basketball. But I've heard a lot of Ja Morant comparisons between Jaden Ivey and Ja. To me, Ja, when I was watching Ja anyway, he seemed like heads and shoulders above Jaden as far as a playmaker.
Oh yeah.
How would you compare Jaden Ivey to Ja Morant? I know it's a silly question.
No, the comps are so funny, and it's just like when you do this stuff all throughout the year, like I'll never forget watching you watch Jaden in November. You're like, oh, he'll get Ja comps come draft time. Like you can just
you can smell it.
It's like very obvious to tell. It's also like when you turn, like the hair is similar, like the jump shot mechanics are kind of similar. If you follow them on Twitter, like he just retweets everything Ja tweet. Like it is very clear as something there. Like he definitely tries to be him a little bit.
He follows him for sure. For sure.
But on the court, you hit the nail on the head. Their biggest differentiator as prospects is Ja as a playmaker is miles ahead of Ivey. Now Ivey's made strides, and Ivey is a very clear pathway to get even better with the way he just captivates defenses and draws multiple eyes, multiple defenders, and he excelled there and grew throughout the year. But he's no Ja. Ja is a playmaker, especially like I know everyone. I'll never forget watching Ja in the first round of the NCAA tournament just decimate Marquette and just playmaking and just making all the right reads, getting wherever he wanted on the floor. Jaden's a little different. And it's it's tough to see like Ja's. Ja's. It seems like he's getting 30 in all these big games and just still scoring. And I mean, when the pull-up's going, what can you do about it? But I think Jaden's more of Jaden's definitely more of a scoring guard. But also someone that I think can play off the ball a little bit more and like projects better there than Ja did coming out. I think Ja is still definitely a better prospect because you trust him more as a lead ball handler. He makes better decisions, more sound running the pick and roll, getting to his spots. But Jaden's definitely a better shooter from a projection standpoint.
Okay.
And plays off the ball a little bit better. He's a little bit bigger. Similar athletes. Jaden's a wild athlete. Like it feels crazy saying like him and Ja are similar athletes, but like some of the stuff that Jaden did all throughout the year, and even like the functional stuff, like it's just like, watching him in transition, watching him stop start in the half court.
It's crazy.
It's really mind blowing, honestly. So I am ridiculously high on Jaden Ivey. If it wasn't for me just also being really high on Chet and Paulo, like I could easily get to like having him in the top 2, but I just love those two. I love those guys too much. And I'm just like ridiculously high on both Chet's like two-way upside and Paulo just being an absolute offensive stud. But I think Jaden, like I think the case that Jaden's put together, not only to be in the top 3, but just like should be regularly mentioned towards the top of the draft. Like I wouldn't take him at 1 or 2 with those guys on the board, but seeing Jabari kind of get anointed into like the consensus first overall pick while Jaden's like, yeah, he might go 4th, like he might go 5th. I'm like, are we watching the same guys? Like it's wild to me that Jaden hasn't picked up any top 3 buzz, or I mean, it's really mind blowing. If you just look at how he improved throughout the year, how he grew as a playmaker, how productive he was combined with the potential and upside with his athleticism and handle and tools. I don't know. I'm really excited to talk about him, and it's almost like too good to be true for the Knicks to go and make that happen. So I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed, and we'll see. It's kind of like we missed out on Ja, so we're gonna make things right here. But let's see. At the end of the day, I don't think I would give up. You got to look at, like, I've been thinking about trades in this like thinking about it from just 2 years, or I'm not 2 years ago, a few years back when Dallas moved up from 5 to 3 and did the Luka trade swap.
Yeah,
they had to give up an unprotected first. Now I don't know how good the Knicks are going to be. A Jaden Ivey, Julius Randle team probably not that good. An unprotected first, with Scoot Henderson, Wemby, and those twins waiting in the wings, that scares me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Depends on what year. Depends on what year. Like you said,
2024, send it away. I'm
2024. I'm doing it.
2024, send it away. I love DJ Wagner, but let's do it. But 2023, and it is. I've been saying this for everyone I've talked to, because this is a real, like, how do you, like, gauging the next year's draft? It always looks shinier, right? Like, they haven't been to college yet,
right?
Like, even me, I watched a ton of AU in high school basketball. There are guys that get to college, and I'm just like, holy shit, like, that is not what I expect this to look like. And so every year you're bound to have some of those. But like next year, I don't know if you guys have seen clips of Victor Wembanyama, like the 7'3".
I've not yet.
From
France.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple clips.
You gotta, all right, JLS, when we get off the call, you just gotta look him up, and then you'll understand why, like, even a 10% chance at him, like, putting that on the table is terrifying to me, because, like, this dude is just game breaking. And it's just unprotected picks are playing with fire. So it would be really interesting. I think that those negotiations would be really hard set on both sides. And obviously, you know, we're talking about going up to trade up for a guy, and we don't even know what the price we're willing to pay. So it's kind of a hypothetical conversation. But in terms of just a pure basketball fit, I think Jaden Ivey and the Knicks is probably as good as it gets.
Yeah, rumors have gone around that the Knicks are looking into Jaden Ivey. And like Raw said earlier, the Kings are the Kings. Like, I don't even think, like, who they got back for.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're the Kings. But all right, so if I was going to be fair and say let's fit it, I would say Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, the Dallas 2023, and give me back Barnes and number 4. I would do that.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna ask for another pick.
If I'm Sacramento, I'm hanging up the phone and
you are
the team with Luka. They're 2023. No thanks. I'll take the 4th pick. But no, this is it. This is what I mean. This is honest. Like, trade negotiations are super complicated. That I would definitely have no idea like how it gets, but I can only imagine they're super complicated. Then once you factor in weighing the potential of a draft class that, like, you've scouted but you haven't seen them in college, and it's like that makes the whole situation that much murkier. In the end, I would argue, I mean, yeah, I think it's like kind of an indisputable fact. I love Trae Young more than anything, but we're on a Knicks podcast here, so I gotta watch myself. But giving up Cam Reddish to go get Luka instead of having Trae Young probably worked out. There's definitely a world in which the Knicks give up unprotected, and then that'd be the year they win the lottery and Wemby is king. I don't know. I don't.
That's just our luck. Because that's just our luck.
You know, y'all too. I mean, no. I might throw in another pick, but I'm not overspending for that crap.
I agree. I agree.
I might throw in another pick. You want the 2024 and you want Dallas 2023. Okay, we do that, but I'm not throwing in too much. We're talking about a kid that hasn't played in the NBA yet. So come on. I mean, I believe he's got talent to be an all-star. There's no doubt. But we're still speculating, and so I can't. To me, this draft, to me, is really like if you're putting together a young core on the Knicks, which is obviously what they're doing. To me, this is between Mathurin and Ivey. There's a realistic possibility that you can complete your development, in terms of acquisition, and start going straight into development with these guys that you got, and you can go somewhere. But that's why I like this one. If you're going to go at 11, right, like Jason said, you're just going to add the best player, you're going to add talent. But if you could get a guy that could be your, this is their guy, this is your Tatum right here, this is your guy that could take you to that next level in a couple of years. I like Ivy and I like Mathurin, but I'm not going to give away the whole store to get a guy that hasn't played a minute in the NBA yet.
We pause right there to move the conversation along. I did want to ask Jake, Jaden's biggest deficiencies, what you think he improves on. I feel like I know what he's going to say already, and then I'm going to move that conversation on to what we're always talking about. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think your biggest deficiency, I would say it's the mid range and the in between game. Like, I think that's his most glaring deficiency. Mm-hmm. He knows he needs to work on it. He's been quoted multiple times and and like pre-draft interviews, which is awesome. Like, great self-awareness. Love that he's working on that. A lot of it is just being more proactive there. So him being aware of that issue in itself is a really good thing, because there were times I just want him to like take more floaters, take more pull-ups. It's there. once he gets around that screen, like he's going to see deep drop.
Absolutely.
I think it's what he's seeing from the big. I think he will see a ton of deep drop. So knowing how to hit that mid range, hit the floater, all the stuff that Ja's like super mastered, will be so important. The other thing I will say is the shooting. I buy the shooting. He shot it really well this year. Pull-ups, movement threes, it was all there. However, he shot 26% or something as a freshman. I think he's probably somewhere in between the two. I think he was really cold his freshman year and got pretty hot his sophomore year. We specialize in high school data and stuff at Cerebro. We do have him charted at 39%. I think like it's in the high 30s, mid to high 30s.
I'll take that to the bank
for EYBL, which is really good.
Wait,
consider like
Ryan, you mean like is that your projection for his NBA?
Oh no. In AAU.
Oh,
AAU.
I'm about to say. Okay.
Okay.
39% in the NBA. Yeah. Oh my God. 100%.
I was gonna say, yeah.
No. So it's like an 80 shot sample, I think, and I think he shot about 38 or 39%, which is good in itself. And then, given context to the EYBL as a whole, it's even better. A lot of guys hovering around the low 30s, so that's definitely encouraging. But it's still not set in stone. I think his shooting projection, it's not murky. I do buy it, but like I don't want to just fully brush it off as this isn't something we have to worry about at all. Like I do think he'll see a lot of unders and just he'll be proving it to hit it from like a pull up from NBA range. I'm not going over to then leave my big man one-on-one with Jaden Ivey getting downhill. Even especially if he does iron out the in-between game. So I do think the biggest efficiencies for me would be, that process, the pace as a pick and roll ball handler, still playing the game a little bit slower, as fast as he is. And he got so much better play, like stop starting and accelerating and utilizing that burst throughout the year, but still sometimes, playing a little bit sped up and a little bit premeditated, and then just ironing out that three ball. So there's no doubt in my mind. And you can't go under, because if like, that's what Ja's like, people are going to go under. And if Ja's seeing, that's why we said when Ja's hitting that pull up three, there is nothing for you to do. You can't go under, you can't go over, you can't get to a level he'll blow by you. Like, and I'm not saying Jaden, like that's a very surface level way of looking at it, that like, oh, there's no flaws, he can kill you from all three levels, like you're screwed. It's not actually the case, but I do think like Jaden does have the tools where that even is on the table. Like you don't want to get to that level of the screen because you're just conceding a blow by. He's that fast.
No, I agree. Completely agree. Yeah, so, completely agree. Although I liken him more to a pre-injury Victor Oladipo than to Ja. I think
I like that. I like that as a driver.
I'm more like because this guy and I think he's actually can be better than Victor, because his first step is like unreal. It's just ridiculous. This guy goes from 0 to like 60 in a half a second. So if he ever, and that, all of these guys, everybody we're talking about, except if he's like a Luka Doncic, they're going to have, holes in their game that need to be worked on. Everybody does. So that's not a problem. But if he ever, like Jake said, if he ever gets a mid-range, because like you said, they're going to drop back because he's so fast. You have to get back on him. Otherwise he's by you. If he gets a mid-range or a floater, it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap.
I will say one thing like real quick is why I'm so, I'll say infatuated with Jaden, and why I kind of feel like people are undermining him is that like in the beginning of the year, the mid-range, he was not looking at it. Like he would literally come around the ball screen, or he would get downhill and it was straight to the cup, and he would jump and try to jump over you and power through you. And like, oh, okay, like this works sometimes. It also doesn't work other times. And he was pretty inconsistent to like start the year. Other than one really bad game at Northwestern, like unless I'm blanking out, like for the most part, he was consistent and he was really freaking good as he got late in college conference play. And there were two games that I will just, they're seared in my brain. The game versus Illinois at home and the game versus Michigan, both of them, where he is snaking pick and rolls. He's getting to the mid range. He's, easing out comfort there. And like it's still a little bit premeditated at some points, but he's still working it in. So then once you start getting comfort with those reps and then extrapolating where you actually can go and where that space actually is, if he can get to that third level, I like add that third level as a scorer, as well as ironing out the three, along with his ability. And again, like he can attack closeouts, and he can play off another guard. He's 6'4". He can guard twos on the other end of the floor. Like there's a real world where you're running your initial action, then you swing it to him on a like semi-tilted defense, and the same way, you know, Tyrese Maxey looks in Philly, where he just looks like he's just like a sprinter coming off the line when he's attacking closeouts and just getting downhill instantly. Like Ivy has some off-ball equity. I think that's like an untapped potential area where he has that Ja didn't. Like Ja's strictly point guard size, and Ja's shooting projection, especially off the catch, was super wonky. Jaden isn't that. They were running Jaden off multiple pin downs, and he was coming around 1-2 or hopping right into like difficult 3-point attempts. So I think that's another area that I would also like to see him utilize, especially earlier in his career. So it's not so much heavy lifting, both physically and mentally, on the ball, reading pick and rolls, getting all that process. Like go off the ball, take some catch and shoot threes, cut, find pockets in the defense, get the easy stuff, and kind of mix it all together. So I mean, I think Jaden is just an absolute stud. We talk about star bets, and you know, I personally, you know, you don't want to go swing crazy for the fences, but the foundation's absolutely there. Like it is not an irresponsible gamble by any means.
A big high praise from Jake, and I think a lot of Knicks Nation kind of agree with you there on the Jaden Ivey front, and which leads me to another projected guy that Raw loves. And you know, we talk about trade rumors. We heard a few trade rumors. One, we heard that the Sacramento Kings were interested in moving their pick at 4. We also heard that Portland Trail Blazers were thinking about moving their pick at 7. I'm not sure what the Knicks would have to give up, but we just saw some rumors to say that they're looking at LaVine and Beal. Do we have a LaVine or a Beal here? No. Do we have the pieces that they want? Not sure. How bad do they want Randle? But that leads me to who do you feel like, if Ivy's off the board, do you feel like there's somebody else you would be willing to trade up for? I guess would be the first question, Jake.
No. Don't do it. And Ivy's kind of pushing it a little bit, because my biggest thing with the Knicks right now is like your problems are not getting solved in a day. Like we can go through multiple more off seasons and years and years and years for Knicks fans to see that your rebuilding process is long, and it takes years of correctly stacking up picks, correctly winning on the margins, both in the draft and free agency, letting those guys develop. Like this doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's what we feel victim to so often, because 1, we think we're a free agency destination that we're not. And 2, I guess we haven't had draft success. So I don't know why we would think that you can just draft someone and become an overnight winning franchise. But the Knicks, like, I don't think the Knicks are ready to be competing right now. Like I think we have a bunch of intriguing young pieces. I think we clearly need to work out who's going to play more from a rotation standpoint, and who's going to get prioritized with the game reps, both for the betterment of the team and for the long-term outlook of development. And Jaden Ivey, like I'm not saying he accelerates the timeline, but if he hits, like that's someone who's going to propel you and kind of like not speed up the timeline, but put you in a place that maybe you weren't going to before. I don't really think anyone else in the draft can do that for you, is like my point. Like I think there's a hard cutoff after Jaden Ivey. Like even if I don't think Jabari Smith does that for the Knicks. Like I think Jabari's a great prospect who will be great for a lot of teams. I'm less high on his upside compared to someone like Jaden, but I get it. Like how someone like a Houston could plug and play Jabari and like have him be a big time piece and just keep building. No one else in this draft really, like I don't think, I love Johnny Davis. I don't think he's like dramatically changing the direction of the Knicks franchise by himself. I think he's a good piece that you can add and stack and build your rotation and continue to gel with the rest of the young core, but just keep building. So when you do get that stud, hopefully maybe in 2023 draft or 2024, or maybe you strike gold in free agency, who knows? But I do think like if you just spend your entire time chasing, you know, that one guy or in selling the assets, and you're kind of just going to be back to square one, which I think would be unfortunate considering the small progress that I do think the Knicks made last year with certain of the young guys.
Now, Raw, I already know Raw. Okay, so one thing I'm gonna say is this: a lot of Knicks Nation are also hoping that we'll be able to move Julius Randle for the 7th pick, and if that's the case, if he's the main piece, I think a lot of Knicks Nation will say yes. The question is that actually possible? Is that something that Portland is even looking for, or is that like a pipe dream? Right? It might be a pipe dream. It might be. Who knows? I've heard some interesting things about the way that Portland's cap is set up. Is it even possible that they will even take Randle and how that works with them? But me personally, if I can move Randle for his 7th pick, I might do it just to clear the pathway for Obi Toppin. That's just me, and I'm just tired of.
You're telling me I can get off his contract and move up in the draft?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. Like I'm personally viewing that contract. Like I don't know how it's viewed around the league. Like I don't know how Knicks fans view it. Like me personally, to the current state of the Knicks, like that contract being on your books, like that is a negative asset to me. Like when it's all said and done, like obviously Julius, I mean, we can debate if Julius Randle himself is a negative player, but that money and that split, like that contract and the Knicks are just on two completely different timelines, in my opinion. And so like that contrast is ridiculously evident on the court. It's ridiculously evident in the rotations. And I just like, if you're telling me I can get off that contract and move up, even though I don't want to move up, like for my money's worth, whoever I would pick at 11 or whoever I'd pick at 7 will probably be there at 11. Like there's two guys that I'm thinking that I want. Washington's been linked. But we'll talk about who you want to get.
Raw. I see your face.
Yeah.
Hold on, Raw.
My two guys for the Knicks, and we'll get to my guys. We'll get to your guys, and we'll talk out why one of us is right and one of us is wrong. But my two guys are Johnny Davis and Jalen Duren. And I think I've also seen them slipping both times.
At 11,
so, yeah, at 11. So like, my point is like, I don't have an urgency to trade up. And even if they're both gone, like I would take someone like Dyson Daniels. I would take AJ Griffin. Like I'm super comfortable with all these guys, and it's very fluid to me. Mm-hmm. So I always like, if you're trading up for someone. And once Jaden's off the board, I don't necessarily think there's anyone worth giving up assets for. Like I'm much more comfortable just sitting at 11, waiting to see how the board shakes out and going from there.
All right. So Raw, I know you have your eyes on a certain Mathurin, right?
Man, Bennedict Mathurin is the deal, man. Look, let me tell you something. I want him before I want Ivey. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I'm gonna tell you what else. I think he's easier to get than Ivey because to me, I think we can deal. I'm not sure, but there's a possibility Mathurin is there at 7. He's not going to be there at 11, but
I think he might be. I think he could be there at 11.
I don't think so.
Really?
No, there's no way. I mean, there's no way. Okay, I'll give you this. There's a 20% chance he's there at 11.
Okay.
Low percentage.
Yeah, but more than likely he's gone. By the time New Orleans picks at 8, if he's there, he's gone. This dude, there's some guys that just have that pop, man, and he's got it in spades. He's a big game player. He's 19. He's got a tremendous upside. Yes, he's got a lot of things to work on, but the template is there for a star. He's got everything you need in his raw materials, everything to be a star in the NBA. And I am just so high on him. If you give a Tibbs, this guy that Tibbs, well, he's going to come in, he's going to work really hard. He's got RJ Barrett from Canada with him. They're going to work hard on the defensive end of the floor and learn that end of the floor. This kid, I am telling you, him and Ivey, I like them both equal. I will take either one. And I think we can get the deal done. Portland is looking for a veteran power forward. They messed up when they sent out Robert Covington, and they're looking for a replacement. The guy that they want is Jeremy Grant, but Detroit's not giving him up. Now, the other guy you got is Miles Bridges, and then I've heard some things about John Collins. That's your competition right there. So I don't know who's going to win that, but I'm offering them Julius Randle. I'm taking back some dead contracts for them, and then I'm taking that 7th pick, and I'm picking Bennedict Mathurin if I can get him. See, I disagree. I think the Knicks are still rebuilding. I agree with that. And no, none of these guys are going to make us Eastern Conference Finals next year, but I'm talking about 2 seasons from now. 2 seasons from now, you got RJ Barrett is 22 going into his 4th season. You got, I think Mitchell Robinson will be back going into his 5th season. Then you're going to have Obi Toppin in his 3rd season. And I think he's very underrated. And so I am really excited to get a guy like a Mathurin because in 2 seasons, I think we'll be pushing that door, man. We'll be pushing that door there. So that's all I'm looking for. And I'm looking for Tibbs to, take away all of these vet toys he got and let him put all of his, put his whip out on these kids. Because if he does that, man, I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, this dude Mathurin is better. I don't know. I hope everybody feels like Jake feels. Just let him fall, because I want this kid. I want this kid more than I want Ivey. I want this boy, man. Because Ivey got to learn how to go to his left. He's going to need to learn how to do the mid-range. And I believe he's got the talent. He's going to be able to do all that. It's going to take a little time. He's learning the toughest position in the league at the point guard spot. It's a different game with him. It's not like a wing. So Mathurin will have, I think, an easier path to stardom from his position, being he's going to be a 2 or a 3. At 6'6", 6'7", with that athleticism, this cat, I want this boy. I want him. Everybody else, like, to me, it's realistically, Ivy's going to get drafted before him. Then you're going to have, to me, it's Ivy, Mathurin, and then I love Jeremy Sohan. After that, all of those other guys that I like Tyrese, and I like Griffin, I like all of those guys, but they're all kind of in that same. If it was on a chart, they'd be all bunched together, and these 3 guys would be a little bit out. But that's what I like. Yeah.
For me, when I look at him, cause I'm still kind of learning the guys, so my opinions aren't as strong as you guys just as yet. For me, when I look at the base of him, I see a guy he's a potential 3-level guy, and he doesn't have that the defense that because when I look at Griffin, like, I feel like he lacks on the defensive end, and that scares the crap out of me. We'll get into him in a minute. But to me, he seems like he can. I like percentages. So if he's shooting high percentages, for me, that's 45 from the field, 30, 41 for 3. I'm already got my attention. But I'm gonna ask Jake though, Bo, from what you see in his game though, I know what you say a lot of times is what type of shots are you getting, right? Because if you're getting a lot of ISO heavy shots, sometimes your percentages won't be as high. If you're getting a lot of off ball shots, your percentage is a little bit higher. So what are you seeing from his game? And maybe you can explain why he may not be as high as Roy is too.
So with Mathurin, I think, I definitely don't see him being a 1. I don't really think he's a 2 either. My thing with Mathurin, the shooting is very real. Like, I buy the percentages. He was gunning all year. They were deep, they were difficult, and yeah, he was like, that's 2 years now of him shooting really well for Arizona. So shooting, not an issue for me. Defense, I have a lot of concerns. He's a 2/3. Feel off the ball, not very good. Consistently he's kind of getting lost, losing his man, just disregarding defensive responsibilities. I'm just pretty low feel on defense, but very this is kind of just the contradiction that comes in. You said, ridiculous athlete, open floor athlete, top floor, above the rim, showtime. We can go through all the adjectives, but unfortunately on the court, on both ends, I find that it's just not as functional. Because defensively, he's not super sound when it comes to rotations, not super sound when it comes to off-ball responsibilities. And on offense, while the shooting is great, and I really like his off-ball score. I picture him as an off-ball scorer. He can come off your pin downs. He's going to space the floor. He's going to reliably make shots. But I really worry about the handle and his ability to get to the rim and penetrate and be a slasher. Just from numbers, I pulled up, I did a spreadsheet where you kind of evaluate where guys are getting their shots, where they're shooting at all 3 levels. Mathurin shot 63% at the rim on a good volume, including transition, which is very good.
Very good.
The number I have an issue with is 57% of those makes are assisted, and he's basically sandwiched in between a couple of power forwards. And any of the guys that are considered creators are not even close to that. They're all in the 30s and 20s. And, that's obviously it's just one number, but it's contextualized based on what I'm seeing on film, which is if it's not in a straight line, when it comes to counters, if he's walled off, they're just not in his bag right now. And the handle's super inconsistent. He had a couple flashes operating as a playmaker, especially in pick and roll, but they were just a little bit too inconsistent for my liking. So what I'm getting with Mathurin is he's going, I definitely think he's an NBA player. I think he's going to stick in the league. He has tools. If he works at it and can kind of shore things up on the defensive end, he has the tools and the body type to make it work. But on offense, I just struggle with, valuing someone who I don't really entrust with secondary creation chops that much. And it's probably 6'5", maybe 6'6" at best. So that's kind of my disconnect is I totally buy the shooting. I totally buy the tools. And I think he's an NBA player. It's just more so he's not someone I'm super enthused by. And we talked about just getting good players, but also if you're someone like AJ Griffin, I think he could be a nuclear wing shooter. We're not just Mathurin is a good shooter. AJ could be a great shooter. While also being a little bit stronger and more of a 3. And I think offering a little bit more defensive upside if he can kind of tune things up. And then someone like Johnny Davis, who I really like showed the ability to drive and create a little bit, in addition to, if he can kind of iron out the three and space the floor, less of a capable jump shooter than Mathurin and less of a run and jump athlete, but much more sound and effective on defense and can penetrate and run second side action. So, I mean, it is a little bit more preference. I just gravitate more towards the guys who are either going to be super elite as a shooter. And I think AJ Griffin still has some stuff off the bounce, not a ton, but I do worry about Mathurin's, the rest of his game. We can call it.
Okay.
I can see where Jake is coming from, but to me, I'm looking at Mathurin. There's a lot of these guys that come out of AAU and nobody's really asked them to play defense before. And so he's used to, and a lot of these guys like him are just so physically gifted, NBA players in general, just so physically gifted above other people, human beings, that he's one of these guys that never had to really focus on that. So I'm not really as concerned with that on the long term. Again, he's 19. I'm not worried about him learning how to play defense, and I'm not worried about him developing. He's got the template there, the body, the athleticism, the explosiveness, the gonads to want the ball at the end. I think he's just got the template to be that guy. So, right, yeah, does he need work? Yes, he needs work. Nobody's coming into this draft ready to take over a team and just lead them to the promised land. But to me, you combine it with what the Knicks already have. You put him out there on that wing, and like I said, in 2 seasons, not a rookie year, not a second year, maybe that 3rd season. I'm seeing something with him, man. I see a lot of star in him.
Interesting debate. I love it, man. I love debates, man.
This is what it's about.
This is what it's about, man. This isn't about Knicks fans. The opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah, the athleticism versus the, I don't know. He doesn't see the shot creation like we do, or Raw does. But you talked about we talked about Johnny Davis a lot. So we can talk about Johnny Davis right now. This is the guy who I feel like most likely might be there at 11.
Yeah, I agree there.
So if the Knicks don't make any moves, I think a lot of Knicks Nations with Johnny Davis. I think I'm with Knicks Nation as well. If at 11, he's not a home run pick, but he seems like to give you a little bit of everything, right? It gives you two-way player, some shot creation, and he's going to compete on the defensive end. He's kind of a safe pick at 11 to me. What do you think about that?
That's my number 1 target for the Knicks at 11. No Wisconsin bias here, but I watch Johnny Davis all year long. And well, if you want someone who knows how to play in a stagnant, archaic offense, he's got 2 years worth of experience doing that. So he'll have no issues transitioning and playing off that. But in all seriousness, two-way upside. He's, again, not going to be your home run number 1 shot creator, in my opinion. His handle's definitely a little loose and could use some tightening, but is super technically sound, knows, like, master at rejecting screens, knows how to read defenses, knows how to, like, take what they're giving him. The mid-range maestro. Ended the year cold, both from 3 and in the mid-range. I think
that was concerning.
I think it was concerning, but defenses basically just loaded up on him like crazy. The pre-rotations and help are off the charts, and he was also coming off an injury. I think that probably doesn't get talked about enough, and he probably rushed back a little bit. It definitely did not look the same explosive wise. No excuse, like, still the sample is a sample. You got to evaluate it. But and I think it is worth noting that, like, I think 10 of his 13 dunks came in like the first 2 months of the season, and then like only 3 in the last when he was like coming off his
I didn't know that, Jake. What was his injury?
He either an ankle or a foot. It's definitely something like with his foot.
Okay.
So, ideally directly correlated with explosion and comfort and cuts and all that. And the thing about Johnny is, like, I don't think he's a bad athlete, but he's not a wildly blow your mind away burst guy. So he kind of needs every little bit of that decisiveness. And
yeah,
I've been describing him as, he's like a violent mover. It's not as graceful as Ivy or someone who's like Kennedy Chandler, who's super quick. But Johnny, like, when Johnny makes a cut in that plant, like, he instantly gets downhill and he gets to his spots. So he's someone I definitely like a lot. I think he was asked to do a lot for Wisconsin, and it wasn't always advantageous. That version of Johnny Davis, 30% usage, we will not see in the NBA, and we shouldn't see in the NBA. Was definitely overtasked at times. Took a couple of bad shots per game, but it's worth, like, Wisconsin played with 2. I watched all those games. Like, went to in person, watched them on the computer. Like, Wisconsin played with 2 non-shooters at all times. They were in the 300s in 3-point shooting in all of Division One. And not only that, like no one on the team necessarily was creating advantages for him to create off of. And I think that's the best version of Johnny Davis. Like you're taking that creation and handling and 1 to 2 dribble pull-up ability that we've seen when he's in isolation, and you're sliding that off the ball. Like, hey, we don't need you to do as much. And I think he'll need to grow into that because he's very much on ball oriented. Like that's his game. That's what he was in high school. That's what he was all year this year. He's comfortable, lulling the defense out, getting to his spots, winding down the shot clock. So he's definitely gonna have to improve as like a quicker decision maker. But I don't doubt that he can read it. Like he's still making those reads as a handler, and it's just gonna be more simplified and slowed down. It's gonna require buy-in. Like it's different from someone like a Mathurin who played off the ball all year long. So there's pros and cons to both of that. Like Johnny's a little bit further along as a creator. Mathurin's a little bit more comfortable doing the off-ball duties. I would personally rather have the creator and kind of scale him down, but that's totally like that's personal preference. Like you talk to people all the time who would rather the latter. Again, this is why I love this shit and it's so fun to me. It's like there's no right answer. There's no right answer. It's all personal preference and philosophy. But with Johnny, I think you put him in a better offensive context. Like even the Knicks is going to be better than Wisconsin. You give him easier place to attack. He can get downhill and get to the rim. Really like strong, like extremely function, like has a ton of functional strength for someone who's going to be a 2, maybe a small 3. And the defense is absolutely awesome. He's a monster in passing lanes, super anticipatory, has great IQ, uses his length well. Screen navigation's awesome. So I mean, I think he's someone that, granted Tibbs is still the coach of the Knicks, like I think he's someone that he would gravitate towards and feel comfortable playing. I think that's something that all the Knicks fans have been clamoring for is play these rookies. You got to get them on the court. You got to give them time. But of course, we know like NBA coaches want to win, especially when your job is maybe on the hot seat, maybe not. So he's not going to just throw him out there because we want to, and the front office said so. Like I do think Johnny Davis, especially because of the defense, if he did land in New York and Tibbs was the coach, could have an easier path to seeing the floor.
Yeah, I think for me, it's and Raw mentioned this before we started because the lack of athleticism kind of worries me at the next level. Getting stopped by bigger, stronger guys without any athletic pop, that worries me. But it's for me, it's kind of just like, all right, bare minimum, I know he's gonna be a guy who's gonna, be a defensive guy. And the other part to me is the fact that he fell off a cliff when it came to the pull-up threes towards the end. 3-point shooting in general scared me a little bit. Especially considering, we have a bunch of guys here. Well, RJ and Julius Randle in particular, who've been really hot and cold from 3. And I'm I'm very weary of adding another guy there who's gonna shrink the floor offensively, especially when you're looking at today's NBA. Man, like everybody's a shooter. I feel like to me personally, like I said, I'm watching Dallas and I'm going, Dallas got away with having a pretty solid point guard, but because they had shooters around them, like the 5-out thing works. So having a 2-out doesn't really work.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
So like that swing skill is like a life or death for us.
That's right.
Yeah, it's it's extra valuable. Like we can split hairs on the 5-out stuff. I think the 5-out stuff is maybe a little bit more unique to someone like Dallas, just because like they have Luka, who's potentially the best advantage creator in the NBA and maybe the best, like when you parlay creation and passing. I don't know if it's better than him. Obviously, Jokic is just as insane in his own right, but it's super different. Like Luka is, I don't, my favorite player in the league, and kind of never seen anything like it. Just the ability to get wherever he wants on the floor and then spray the ball out.
Yeah.
But the Knicks, but 100%, like shoot, if you can't shoot, it's so like, there's not that many ways around it. Like there really isn't. And I try to be open-minded with players, but like it is such a detriment if you are not a center, or even like a 4, maybe you can get away with it a little bit if you're paired with a shooting center. But if you're 1 through 3 and you can't reliably shoot and space the floor, like that's something I've really learned like throughout the first couple. Like it's so detrimental to your offense. And the like letting the defense off the hook to not rotate to you and not care and not close out. 1, that is killer. And then 2, it just hampers the rest of your game. Like if you're getting short closeouts, you're slashing it. Like It's really difficult to attack a closeout that doesn't go past like 6 feet out.
That's a
That's
fact.
not a closeout. It's not a closeout. You're not attacking, and defense is in rotation, and you have no lane to attack because they're just sagging and living with you shooting. And like, it might sound hyperbolic, but like, if you can't shoot or you're a middling shooter, like, or below average shooter, like that's the treatment you're gonna get. So it's very important for Johnny, because I do, like, as much as I love him and as much as I buy into him as a prospect, that burst, like you talk, I do think he's an underrated athlete in some instances. However, the straight line, like, and standstill burst is not one of those areas. Like, repeatedly he'll get walled off. Even when in the beginning of the year when he was super successful, he'll get downhill and then he'll get walled off and he'll get to like a little step back in the mid range, which is how he wins. And that's how he's going to provide points. Majority of the time, there are instances where he does get all the way to the rim and can explode and finish there, or use his size to, body someone up and create space for a little push shot floater.
Right.
But like him getting walled off is certainly that is an occurrence that happened a lot. So if now we're going to slide him off the ball because I'm not too optimistic with him carrying such a big creation load, like, again, I think if the ball is swung to him and he's going to run your second side, or maybe even initiate an action here and there, come off a pin down and curl and try to get downhill, I'm totally fine with that stuff. But in terms of really being a creator that's going to bend the defense from a standstill, like, probably not your guy. So again, that's going to just put that much more emphasis on his off-ball stuff, which starts with him catching the ball and looking at the rim to shoot. So I think he ended the year like 31%, which is certainly not great. But I do believe in his touch. He's a really effective pull-up shooter, or was, until he kind of fall off a cliff. It's going to be really interesting. It's definitely one of the bigger swing skills in the class, not just for the Knicks, in the entire class, because you do look at the rest of the arsenal. Like, he, again, like, Kent gets the rim. Yeah. I think he grew as a playmaker. I think is going to be a mid-range shot maker, showed a capacity to carry, like, a high usage, and like the actual ability to create and get his own, and the defense was there. So like, we're talking about all of that. If the shot comes around, that's a pretty damn good prospect and rotation piece. If the shot doesn't come around, the offense gets a little hampered, and then the defensive value, is it really worth it? Like, the question, it just gets a lot murkier if he's not making catch and shoot threes. So
right.
Fascinating case study. Again, I'm still really into him for the Knicks because I do buy it, but I completely understand it.
Do you see him as a primary creator or like a secondary?
No. Much more like a secondary guy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just checking. Just checking. All right. Yo, I have another. Like, I know you want to get to AJ Griffith. I have one more guy I really want to talk about. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Because, when we looked at the Knicks and who they drafted, we looked at Quentin Grimes, right? Quentin Grimes is a guy who kind of went under the radar. He gets to the combine. He like shows out in the combine, shoots the lights out. All of a sudden, he's on everybody's radar, and the Knicks draft him, and it turned out to be pretty good for us, right? Shot the lights out, flashed a little bit of creation, nothing fancy, but really basic. But he turned out for us. It seems like there's a few guys who kind of showed out pro day, and there was a guy in Dyson Daniels who people were like, you know what, Knicks need a point guard. This guy's been the Ignite. He's a huge point guard. We already know what Tibbs is on. Tibbs likes the big point guards who 6'7", 6'8", long wingspan. He likes those guys. You saw what he did with Elfrid Payton. So he's looking at. I can imagine him looking at Dyson Daniels and licking his chops and going, "This is a guy." Goes to pro day. He goes to pro day, and it seems like he shot better. He shot okay during pro day, and that's been a knock on him.
Wait, you mean in competition or just on the court by himself shoot?
I'm not sure. That's a great question.
His pro day,
because my understanding, his pro day
was open
just
gym.
Yeah, we just shooting. He wasn't. Let me tell you something. The boy can't shoot, so I'm just gonna be honest. I mean, I don't buy that. There's so many pro day miracles. You gotta be careful. Come on, the boy can't shoot. Cause my man Grimes was shooting in comp, man. He was killing in comp. Okay?
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't even like, let me just watch. Y'all just watch me shoot in front of his cones or whatever. No, man. I ain't buying it. He can play defense. He got ball handle. He got length. All that. Don't expect him to shoot. You're gonna be disappointed.
What happened to? It's funny because I felt the Knicks have gotten burned with shooting is the skill that you can learn. I was believing that with Frank for so long. Yeah, everything else. If he ever puts it together, man, the defensive wizard, 1 through 3, 1 through 4.
No,
If he ever
sometimes
shoots,
I mean, some people, some
Sometimes
people
it's
do,
true,
do
yeah.
get better shooting. Yeah, some people do get better shooting. It's
Sometimes
not the
it
case
does,
with all players.
but I mean, but to me, in this particular draft, there's other guys that already can shoot. Like I'd like Okai Agbaji before that because Okai can shoot. He's almost got a 7-foot wingspan. He's almost 6'6". He plays defense. We don't need to guess. That boy can shoot the rock. So I'm not sure about this guy and whatever. But I'm just saying.
all right, I'm just asking questions. Is this
And then
another,
what is this G League crap, man? Come on.
is this another Frank defensive tall point guard fake out? But the guy can't shoot and never will, or is there something here?
I think he's tougher than Frank. Frank was injured. This guy is tougher. I think he's much tougher than Frank ever was. He's a tough kid. So I like that about him. Tiz would love that. But if you're really looking for him to hit open shots, he's not going to do it. I'm just telling you right now, you're going to be very disappointed. Maybe he'll learn in 2 or 3 seasons. Anything's possible. But if you want a guy that's going to hit open shots right now, I'm not taking him. I'm sorry. No. And if you're talking about G League, why is it when Deuce averaged 29 is only G League, but this boy averaged 11 and he's a top 10 pick? Give me a break. Give me a break.
As you can see, he's part of the Deuce High. If you haven't figured that out.
No, but the dude played G League, averaged 29, 11. Or that's just G League. Okay. This kid just played G League. He averaged 11.
I think with G League it's kind of different because it's kind of like with young players in Europe. Because when young players are in Europe, they don't play that often. The coach will give them like a good 10, 12 minutes a game, and then within that 10, 12 minutes, they'll average like 8, 9 points. But then that player's skill set, you look at the skill set and you're like, okay, this player can do so much more than average 8 or 9 points once he's in an NBA game and he's getting NBA minutes. So I think it's the same thing because this player just came out of college and went straight to the G League. So it's like, all right, they're not going to give him a lot of minutes because of that. But within that short amount of time, he's scoring like 10, 11 points a game. And they look at his tools and they're like, okay, well, his tools translate to the NBA game.
No, but he averaged 31 minutes. He averaged 31 minutes a game in the G League, though.
It happens.
Yeah, but he only shot 26% from 3. 26. Come on, man. Nah, man. No, I'm not buying it. To me, this kid is. I'm just telling you, I'm not high on him at all. I'm not high on him.
So why is he climbing the draft course?
Because
we'll talk about it.
Everybody's looking at that jump shot and with nobody guarding him. Oh man, he can shoot now. It's like, come on, man. Remember Sebastian Telefleur did the same thing. He couldn't shoot. All of a sudden, that's someone he became like a marksman, right? Then he gets to the NBA, he can't shoot. Come on.
Go ahead. Yo, Jake, let me know, man. How?
Oh man.
Because he was projected to be. Go ahead.
I mean, we're laughing, but it's partially true. I would say what changed? I always say that what changed. And someone who does football draft scouting had such a great tweet. It was like I always find, and Dyson Daniels is good at basketball, like a good basketball player. Now we will address the issues that I am in lockstep with you on a lot of these things. I always said I find it funny how the players who aren't necessarily good on film will always rise the further away you get from the film. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. We didn't change. Nothing happens. And this is the thing is this draft class. When you first brought up Dyson Daniels, I was going to what do you consider a point guard? I consider my point guard or my lead guard someone who is going to get into the teeth of the defense, create advantages, bend the defense, make them respect you, initiate the offense by sending them into rotations, do all those things. That is not what Dyson Daniels does. What he does very well is sort of in the Lonzo early, freshman year Halliburton role at Iowa State, earlier Halliburton, where you're being a connector, you're making the right play, you're keeping the ball moving, you're attacking certain pockets of the defense. He's your connector. Super smart basketball player, has a great frame, good touch when he gets downhill with floaters, and good finisher at the rim. Super sound when it comes to defense, active on the ball, can play off the good principles, is in the passing lanes, has a good balance of actual stocks and playing good sound defense. So you're getting a sound two-way connector. He is not a point guard, but once you see someone who's 6'7" with his frame in an open gym and the shot looks better, his ball handling concerns me a lot, and just the way he handles ball pressure. Like when dudes got up in his stuff, it didn't go well. And he like got very comfortable and started making more shots as the year progressed. Like I still worry about his mechanics. Like his mechanics are pretty inconsistent. It's like you'll see him kind of. It looks like he's shooting the ball a little bit different every time, and that is nothing new. He was someone who played for Australia last summer in the FIBA, same tournament that Chet played in, same tournament that Wemby played in. And he intrigued me with Australia there. I was in a stream with a bunch of friends, and we talked about him for a little bit. And it's the slashing. He's a really good passer for his size. Like uses his height to see over top of the defense and make the right read. So has a lot, like does a lot of really good things. But I've been a little baffled by the rise as well, because it's your same connector. You can't spend the entire year telling me connectors might be overrated, and you'd rather have either a scorer, someone who can like really run second side offense, and you don't know how to believe in this connector, and do they have enough scoring equity, and what do you do with the ball handling, and then this is your 7th ranked prospect. Like he's a connector, which is totally fine. And like in this class, just because as we talked about at the top, there aren't those creator gambles, I'm more willing to gravitate towards someone like Dyson Daniels. I'm not as high as I think he will go, but I've warmed up to him a little bit. He's good. Like he is good. I'm not here to slander. Like he is a good player. He's a good prospect, but I think we need to be like extremely contextual about like who he is. He is not a point guard. If the Knicks draft him, think you're getting point guard, like he has a little bit of Frank stuff on offense where like you think he's your point guard and he's not your point guard.
So that's why I led out with
Yep.
that's why I led with the
yeah, no, but it's not like,
Yep.
like no, he's better than Frank. Like he is much better than Frank on offense, but it's like I'm strictly talking about the same thing where it's like if you thought Lonzo Ball was going to be your primary point guard and your lead guard and you're an offensive initiator, you would be disappointed. Like Lonzo's a very good player. I love Lonzo, but that's what I'm saying. Like in the Frank Dyson thing, like I don't want Knicks fans to think Dyson is a point guard. He's not a point. Like, he is not a point guard. Let's get that like very.
Yep.
And I want to agree with Jake. I mean, I'm not trying to break on the boy. I mean, I'm gonna say he can play in the NBA, but if you're okay, look, the Knicks need to open the floor. Right, I think we can all agree they need to open the floor.
All right.
With Randle and RJ and Mitch, the floor is not open. Yeah. So if you're going to draft somebody, get somebody that's going to open the floor a little bit. And this kid is not it. He's not that guy. So that's why I'm saying I would not be looking at him if I'm the Knicks. I'm saying, okay, I mean, he could play. He's going to be defensive for some. I would put him next to Bradley Beal in Washington, like that. But I'm not going to have him as my point guard in the Knicks and saying we need a point guard. This is our point guard. Hell no.
It's funny though, because I watched this kid play and I was like, if the Knicks ever drafted this dude, like I could bet 100% Thibs would be like, you know what? I'm not playing my point guard. I'm playing him on the wing. I was like, there's no way he'd be playing. There was like, there's no way he'd be playing point guard on the Knicks after what I've seen with this.
He's
guy.
a wing.
Like,
He's a wing. He's a wing. Very good wing, and like it's the same. It's like a little bit of a like Josh Giddey. Like I love Josh Giddey last year in the draft. I would not want Josh Giddey to be my number one ball handler. That's not like you need to be able. Like you need to be able, in my opinion, what I'm looking for in my lead guard is breaking the defense off the bounce, and getting self-created paint touches. Like
OKC, Josh. You talking about OKC, Josh?
Yeah.
OKC, Josh has been kind of killing it this year.
I mean, he's a real point guard to me.
Yeah, he's a real point guard.
I had him like 6th or 7th. Like I loved him. I still love him. Still someone I would like to play alongside another ball handler. Which is Shy. No one does it better than Shy in getting into the paint. So like one, I love the two of them, but like side tangent is that both Australian tall guys. Dyson is nowhere near the level of passer Giddey was as a prospect. Nowhere near.
I mean, I think Giddey's kind of elite in the passing. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. He's elite in that area. So I wouldn't expect Dyson to be like that. But Dyson's got really good IQ though. He's really good.
Very smart. Like Dyson. What you're getting, you're getting a high IQ connector that if the shot comes around, like he becomes very valuable because despite the handling, like he is able to slash because he uses his frame very well, like super broad shoulders. Once he gets into the paint, like very good at just protecting the ball, shielding off defenders, getting to little push shots. Finishing at the rim. He's crafty there. It's a little bit of an unorthodox game, honestly. Like it took me a while to like fully warm up to it. But towards the end of the year, he was just indisputably very good. With that being said, not a point guard. Like, be very clear about that.
Not a point guard. Well, let's talk about somebody you like. You got AJ Griffin over here.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for.
You waiting for AJ?
Yeah.
I was just okay. Ryan's been quiet. Now AJ is.
Okay, he woke up with AJ. Okay.
AJ.
Okay. Yeah, man. I'm just because I'm here listening to Jake because I want to learn about all these different prospects. I watch him on TV, in the college games and all that. But I want to get that in-depth analysis. But I've been looking at AJ Griffin because I'm like, look, at least in my opinion, anyway, I was like, I feel like what the Knicks need right now is someone who's dynamic. Because I feel like there's nobody on the Knicks who's really dynamic like that, which is why I was looking towards Jaden Ivey.
Right.
I wish to God that we could go up for Paulo Banchero. Like that's my number one guy. But I know that's not happening.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Yeah, but
Nasty.
I'm like, but I'm like, okay, if the Knicks can't get neither one of those guys, I'm thinking like, okay, at 11, I want to go with somebody who can spread the floor and shoot. And I watched Griffin at Duke, and I'm like, this guy can really shoot the rock. So I was just waiting for the AJ Griffin analysis. That's why I'm kind of hyped about this.
Yeah, so I mean, AJ was the first guy I wrote about at Cerebro. Listen, we talk about spacing the floor and keeping the defense honest, spreading out defenders. Like, look no further. Absolute ratchet. Like, he is a ridiculous shooter. It's a little unorthodox. Has that wide base. It looks like a little catapulty. But he doesn't miss. Like, he all year long. So AJ's interesting because coming into as a junior, I first saw him when he was a junior. He played with RJ Davis, point guard at North Carolina. They played on the same high school team, and AJ was on the ball, super heavy, like shot creator, pull up threes, stocks and everything, like ridiculous. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is like when I first started taking the scouting stuff seriously. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this kid. Like, he's 6'7", he's giant, he's jacked, he's taking pull-ups. Like, this kid's crazy. Like, I completely ignored the fact that he never blew by his defender once, but and was slow as shit. But like, he was raining threes. And then, he kind of gets hurt. It's COVID. We don't really see him. We're seeing Paulo play a little bit in high school. We're seeing Chet play here and there. We're seeing Jabari play, and AJ's kind of just like, it's like, oh, what's AJ doing? Like, we're gonna see AJ. I'll never forget the first time I saw him was like, he has an afro, like he grew out his hair, like a completely different hairdo, and is in like a run in Miami. And I'm like analyzing this run like it's like actual game film. I'm like, what does he look like? What does he look like? But he was that level of prospect, right? Like, we were, people who follow grassroots, like, we were incredibly excited about him, like top 3, maybe even people had him 1 in that class. And then he kind of like, he didn't fall off. Like, we just didn't see him. COVID and injuries. Then he gets a Duke and he gets hurt. He didn't really play a lot in their first couple games. And then slowly but surely, like, he's getting in the game, 4 threes, 3 threes, 3 threes again. And I think about like December, he started really catching on. Like, at one point, ESPN had a mock 30th, and I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, it's just not happening. And he just doesn't miss. It's like no way around it. He's probably been in the mid 40s for the entire year. I
believe it.
Everyone kind of was expecting that to come back down to earth. Did not come back down to earth. So if you're looking for someone who's going to space the floor from day one and just shoot the cover off the ball, like, he's your guy. I do have concerns with the rest of it because like he's slow, like he's very slow. And his dribbling is not great either. So if you're looking for someone who even someone like a Johnny Davis, who's going to offer complimentary creation, like AJ is not going to do that. He's going to space the floor. And it's what I wrote is that there are ways to extract this from AJ. Like, when he gets downhill, he's very effective because he's really strong. He's like swole upper body and has great touch around the rim. And he makes these really tough, contested, weird short mid-range shots when he gets there, but it's not like a consistent avenue of offense. Like, it's just like him. It's him like consistently. He's making them, but like, it's kind of, you have to cater to him a little bit. Like, you're gonna have to run him off staggers. You're gonna run him off pin downs. Like, I think why I'm optimistic for him is that the closeouts are going to be so reckless because you can't let him shoot. Like, you cannot let him shoot. So whether it's a typical swing pass or you're running him off some shoot like an elevator or pin down, or he's like Duke started running him off these curls late in the season, and it felt like every time they're getting a bucket because you had no choice. You had to trail. Like you had to go over top. So then he would kind of catch the ball against these slow-footed bigs who were like in drop, but they were already towards the level of the screen because the screens were happening so high. And then he's getting downhill, dipping his shoulder and finishing at the rim. So like there are ways to get around his creation warts. They just are very contextual and require you to get a little creative, Mr. Thibodeau. But like, so if you're gonna space him, like you can space him and you'll get fine results because he's going to shoot the three ridiculously well, and he'll attack close out for a 1-2 drill pull up. He'll maybe attack and get all the way to the rim. But I feel like you're best leveraging him by like how Miami uses their shooters, where you're just like chasing and chasing and chasing. Like I trust that AJ can knock down any 3-pointer with any difficulty. Like while what I noted in the piece is that like while a lot of he plays through like if you're going to sort it by like play types, it's spot ups. Like a lot of them are spot ups, but they're difficult attempts. Like he's catching, jabbing 2 times and then rising up. He's like relocating, shooting on the move with the guy in his face. Like he is a high difficulty shooter. So yeah, go ahead. Ask the question.
So is there a one-on-one potential because he's a because he can like make these kind of difficult shots?
I kind of get what you're like saying. The only problem is like he can't get north-south at all. So like if he's one-on-one, like he'll run into trouble just getting in the mid-range area. Like it's not just he struggles to get separation, like he'll struggle to get downhill against the defender from a standstill. Where like there were possessions, it was hilarious. Like he would try to get downhill, that you get walled off, you pop back out, like yank back to like maybe try to get downhill again, and he's just like, fuck this, like I'm pulling up, and then he would just like pull up and hit it, and like he would hit a pull up 3. So that's what I'm saying. Like I think I misspoke when I said like it's not consistent avenue of offense. I would say it's not a consistent avenue of creation, right? Like he's gonna score, but it's like AJ's gonna do AJ. It's like gonna be in a vacuum. He's gonna space the floor. He's gonna attack closeouts. He's gonna stretch the defense. If you don't prioritize him, he's gonna stretch the defense because they're so worried about him, and he'll attack closeouts that way. But I think the way to get the most value out of him is to like totally leverage it and like loop him into as a part of your offense. Like he's not your typical, like he can be, but I think it would be best optimized if like you would make him a constant focal point of your offense. Like from as a shooter, not as a handler.
If you're going to draft him, he's 18, right? So if you're going to draft him, he's going to spend at least a full season in the G League. I mean, he's going to, especially he's playing for Thibodeau. So he's going to spend at least one full season in the G League and then see what he can develop. Right now, he's very young. His body is NBA level. I mean, he's 220 pounds of muscle, man. But like, I agree with Jake. There's a lot of things that he probably didn't appear to be able to do this year that he might be able to do once he gets developed. And Tibbs is very familiar with him, having, his father was assistant coach under him for a while. So they know each other very well. And so it would be a guy that they'd be keeping an eye on, and they'd put him in the G League, I think, for this first season and let him develop. Maybe by the time he's 20, he'll be ready to come up and play. But right now, he's really raw, and I would not expect him to really be on the NBA court right away. I mean, he's got the talent, but to me, he's a long-term play. He's a guy you're going to be patient with.
More so on the defensive end, to me, from what I've seen. It's like I feel like offensively, he can play today. Defensively, I am horrified. Like I am not putting him in before Grimes at all.
No, oh, hell no. He's not ready. He's not ready for that. No.
Yeah.
I was just looking at him more as a, stretch the floor type of player, because I feel like the Knicks do need more of those type of players that will stretch the floor. That's the only way I was really looking at him. But I do understand like his other flaws. But like Ross said earlier, no player coming in is going to be perfect. Every player is going to have their flaws. But I just like the fact that he can really stretch the floor, and I feel like the Knicks need more of those players that can stretch the floor, that can allow the other guys to operate, on offense, like RJ Barrett, etc.
Right. Yeah.
I agree. No, I agree.
I agree. Yeah. No, I agree. I do. I mean, I do think he can play from day one. I'm not saying there's not going to be learning curve, like a big learning curve, but he's NBA skill that's going to get you on the floor. And it's going to be like, if AJ Griffin doesn't shoot at a high level in the NBA, like I don't know, man. Like then I just like
Thibodeau's the coach, right? Wait. No, let's take it. Thibodeau's your coach. You got an 18-year-old player. Okay, and you just said he needs to work on his defense. Are you kidding me?
If he was in Memphis, he would start.
Yeah, right. But this ain't Memphis, baby. No,
he was in Memphis. He would let him go. Tibbs, like with Grimes being a two-way player, he is. He has to play a little bit of defense, and I don't know. When I watch him and I watch Evan Fournier on defensive end, I'm thinking, man, Evan Fournier might play better defense than he does.
Yeah, but and not only that, Evan Fournier got he got the Joker card. He's a veteran. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
this kid's a rookie. So,
but his shooting on the offensive end, though, AJ Griffin's shooting is like, holy crap.
No, he's a tremendous shooter. I saw some creators talking about his stance because it's too wide. No, he hits that shot, man. That's his shot. He can shoot the rock. But I'm just saying, the overall game, he got to be more than that. You can't just come out and spot up in 1 second in the NBA and think you're going to just play. Not with Thibodeau.
Specifically. On the Knicks specifically.
No, you're not going to do that. So you got to be able to play some defense. You got to be able to move off the ball. There's a lot of things. And like I said, I believe he will have all of that ability. He's just going to need to spend a year in the G League and develop it. He's going to, Diop down there, he's going to have to work with Diop for a year.
Man, are you thinking of having him in the G League and drafted at 8? No, they might.
Yeah, man. What you think?
No, they wouldn't. Because Obi would have been in the. I don't know.
Yeah. Obi was 8, and what did he get? 8 minutes a game? Come on, man.
Yeah, but he wasn't in the G League, is what I'm saying.
No,
but you know what?
But he was. Yeah, but he was backing up 8 minutes a game. Yeah. This kid is not going to play in front of Grimes. They better. I mean, he's not. And if you don't get rid of Fournier, he really ain't going to see no time.
We really have to move some pieces. On the depth chart, we got Grimes, we got RJ. We got even quickly be playing some shooting guards sometimes.
And Cam is still
I'm about to say Cam Reddish.
What do you think of Deuce McBride?
What do I think of Deuce McBride? I think he should have been. I think he should be handed the keys to the team like this year. That's what I think.
I personally, I mean, I don't know. It's probably maybe hot now, but like when we in the draft, I was like, everyone was all excited about Grimes. I'm like, no, we got Deuce. Like, that's who I'm excited about.
Dude, those are the two players I said the Knicks were going to draft: Deuce and Grimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Grimes is a very Thibodeau player. I worry personally. Like, this is just me. I don't. There might be a lot of people out there that are higher on Grimes. I do worry that the Grimes player type, and like this is honestly why I like AJ a lot, but I'm a little bit worried about like the ultimate ceiling. Like he's going to be an NBA player, a valuable one at that. Grimes. I mean, I think Grimes is more worrying as a prospect. He was at least than AJ with the off the bounce stuff. Like I just don't trust it.
You think so? But he was a big time rebounder at from the 2 guard spot at Houston, and his defense is stellar. That's
his defense is better. His defense is better than AJ's.
His defense was stellar. I mean, it's not even close. That's nice.
Yeah, his defense is better, but I trust AJ much more on offense. Like he's gonna shoot the ball better.
Yeah, I just his age coming to play under Thibodeau, it's just going to be it's going to be an uphill grind for him to get minutes his rookie year. It really is. I think he's going to spend time in the G League. I mean, I think he is, because that's how Tibbs does it. I mean, like you said, if he was in Memphis, he might be the 6th man. I don't know, but he's in New York, so
absolutely.
I'm good on Grimes, man. He's kind of grown on me. I don't expect him to have I don't expect him to be Klay Thompson. But I don't expect him to. But I feel like he's a guy wherever he is in the NBA, he's going to contribute, and he's going to hit. He's going to hit threes, and he's going to play defense. And as long as he can do both of those things at a high clip, like he's going to have a job.
I think
I think Grimes is going to be fine no matter where he is.
I mean, to me, Grimes like your prototypical 3-and-D wing. Like he's like a prototypical 3-D wing. Like you're not going to expect him to score, you're not going to expect him to give you 20 points a game, but he's going to give you a solid, if he's getting starters minutes, probably hit, maybe 3 or 4 threes and play solid defense.
Yeah. And I think he can get you 15 to 18 a game if you're giving him 30 minutes. I think he could do that. I like Grimes, but I think Grimes is better than people think. I really think he's going to be better than people think. He looks awkward. He looks funny out there to me, but he could shoot the rock and he can play defense. And he's got a high IQ. And he's tough. He gets he puts his nose in there to get rebounds. I like this kid.
Yeah, I like him too.
Yeah, I like him too.
Yeah.
Solid guy, Grimes. Anybody else you want to talk about, Jake?
Yeah. There's one guy who I've been I've been pondering to the Knicks lately. Undoubtedly the most controversial. So we had the same for last. So if anyone's still listening, that's where end of the podcast where we get the most takes off.
Oh yeah, hot take. And I've watched like a couple
I know who
of.
you're gonna say.
I watched a couple of stuff before, so I already know where you're going with this.
I know you're gonna say.
So I already know.
Earlier in this podcast.
I think I got a look when I said him too. So
yeah, you did.
I gotta ask though. What is this? So we're talking about Jalen Duren. I'm talking about Jalen Duren, of Memphis center, who is a center. There is no way around it. You will not play him and Mitchell Robinson together. We get this out of the way. What does your ideal second contract for Mitchell Robinson look like?
I think he's worth the 55.6 over 4 that he's eligible for. I think that's the perfect number for him. And I think it's on the table from the Knicks, and he'll probably take that. That's what's gonna, because he's probably trying to see if he can get 18 million a year. He's not gonna get that, but he could get the 55.6 and move on with life. I think that's gonna happen.
You think it's on the table? Because all the reports have been that the Knicks haven't even offered him anything close to.
No, if you listen to Leon, they said they're working all the way up to July 1st. They put the money on the table.
So you think they're playing hardball? You think they're playing hardball?
I think Mitch is playing hardball because Mitch wants to get, like he should. He's been underpaid for 4 years, so he's trying to make up that money. So he's thinking, man, if I can get 18, if I can get 20, and so that's what they're going to just see what the open market brings him. I don't think anybody. I think Ian Begley said it best. The teams that would really want him are playoff teams, and none of them, because of this situation, can offer him more than a mid-level. Right. Only the mid-level exception. So you're talking about 4 years, 40 million, but the Knicks got 4 years, 55.6 on the table, and he'll take that. He's going to end up back in New York. So to me, any five. And
so you would pay that. You would pay that.
Oh, hell yeah. To me, just the defensive anchor aspect is worth it. I'm not worried about, he's going to get offense. I think everybody's just really not watching him closely enough to understand he's going to be able to score some points. I'm not worried about him. He's not going to be a 20-10 guy, but he could definitely score more than he's been scoring. But to me, the defensive anchor situation on his side, is worth the price of admission. First of all, any five that comes into the NBA has to spend 2 seasons learning not to get in foul trouble. Any 5. Okay. so he's going to spend at least 2 seasons learning. This is Jalen Duren learning not to foul out of a game. Okay, that's what he's going to do. And so that's just any 5 that comes, especially an athletic kid like him. He's going to be jumping through the roof on head fakes. Somebody, all of these guys are going to be head faking him into the roof, and he's going to be fouling out in 3 minutes. I mean, that's just where he's going to be. That's the prototypical, to me, aside from point guard, the 5 position is the second hardest position to learn in the NBA. You got to be able to call out the defense. You got to be able to call out the picks. You got to see what's going on. And when the Knicks got DeAndre Jordan, he helped Mitch with that. That was Mitch's second year. He helped Mitch with that. Third year, he was playing good, and then he got his foot broke, and he could not do anything last summer as far as working on anything. So he spent this whole half a season getting in shape. This summer, he's working on his shot. And I'm expecting to see. I'm not thinking he's, like I said, he's not going to be a 20-point scorer, but he's going to be a much better.
How many times have you seen clips of Mitchell Robinson shooting in open gym?
The year before last, we saw him. Not last year because he was hurt, but the year before last, we saw
every year before that we seen him.
Every
year before the injured year.
No, his rookie year you didn't see him at all. His second year you saw him. Last year you didn't because he was hurt. How you talking about? He wasn't even playing last year. He was hurt.
Even this summer, a video already came out with him shooting the ball in open gym.
Mitchell Robinson said in the tweet he wants to be involved with the offense. So I want to see if they give him that opportunity to shoot the rock. Okay,
so this will be my question, because my Mitchell Robinson skepticism comes at this. One, the defense is an issue, and with the added weight, he lost a little bit of that coverage versatility, which we can he wasn't as quick as he had been in years prior. So in turn, we're talking about getting to the level, sliding with guards, lost a little step there. Foul trouble, still an issue. Not as bad. Definitely taking shots.
Wait, hold on. How many games did he foul out this year?
One. I said no. I said he made strides.
That's not even an issue. He didn't foul out.
Didn't he foul out one game?
I think once.
He fouled one game.
It's not even a small issue.
Okay, so fine. We'll take it off the table. No foul trouble. Offensive.
He's the top 2 offensive rebounders in the NBA.
I'm talking about offensive, being anything but a lob catcher, extending that money. But I'm not comfortable in the state that the Knicks are in I'm not comfortable putting that money on the table with the lack of offensive production, like lack of offensive development over the past few years.
How much offensive development Robert Williams III bring in Boston?
Robert Williams is a damn good passer.
Wait, how much offensive development is he bringing Boston? What is he? 20-point score? What?
I don't want him to be 20 points.
I'll say
Robert. Well, what about Looney and Golden State?
What's that?
What about Looney and Golden State?
Looney's not even a real 5, man. Come on.
But I'll say this. I do agree with Raw that I feel like I'm not sure what he is as a shooter, what he's gonna be as a shooter. I do feel like there's opportunities for Mitch to kind of like do some like quick dribbles to the rim. I do feel like there is a chance for him to develop on the offensive end if he's not injured. To me, injury is more of a factor to me than his skill sets. I feel
I agree.
But also too, when I talk about shooters in the NBA, right? Robert Williams can get away with not shooting because if you look at the Celtics roster, they have 4 shooters around him. So to me, like in the NBA, you can't really. If you have 1 non-shooter and 4 shooters, I feel like you can survive. So to me, the value of
Rob Will can pass. Like they'll run actions through Rob Will, and he's passing and he's running all like he's not Jokic. He's not a
I was gonna say, man, you act like this dude is Jokic.
No, but I'm saying they can run actions through him. He gives you that versatility. He can pop out to the perimeter and be a threat because he can run dribble handoffs and hit backdoor cutters. Like Mitch, he's not doing that. And that's what I'm just saying. The lack of offensive development, and he's damn good at what he does is being a rim runner. I'm just saying, for me personally, in the state that the Knicks are in as a franchise, I'm not committing that money. Even if 14 mil, I'm not committing 14
Robert
mil.
Williams, I'm looking, he averages 1.4 assists a game. What backdoor cut? What the hell? Come on, man.
Watch the Celtics.
On, I watch the Celtics. They're in the finals, bro. Everybody's watching them. The dude he's playing defense, and that's what he's there to do. He's a defensive anchor type dude, and he's a rim protector. That's what they're in the finals. Okay.
Now Mitch,
where's Jokic at? Jokic in the finals? No, Jokic watching. Come on, man.
Mitch is not throwing backdoor passes, but Mitch can hit some people with a short roll pass.
Yo, what I'm saying is that they don't run the offense like that. That's not him saying what you want him to take over the game and say I'm going to throw back up. They don't run the offense like that. That's not how they run it. If you include him more, he'll do it. He's got the talent. But I'm just saying, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's on the table. I'm just saying, as a guy that if you just tell me he's going to be second in the NBA in offensive rebound, he's going to be top 5 in the NBA in blocks. He's going to, and as far as cutting up with guards, I think people, you're looking at him in September when he had no training camp and he's 280 pounds. By the time you got to the All-Star break, he was just like he always was.
Because he dropped the weight. He dropped the weight, so he was better. He got his athleticism.
He was guarding everybody, man. There's games where he just completely dominated other players. Like Ayton still wondering what happened when he came and ate his lunch. I mean, come on, man. Seriously. So come on, man. I mean, no. Mitch Rob is one of our guys. So to me, the 55.6 is the right number for him. It's not too much, and it's definitely not too little. It's the right number. So you get him, and you move on with life. To me, Jalen Duren, you starting yourself back 3 years because you got to now wait for him to learn how to not get in foul trouble. You got to hope that he turns into something. I mean, everybody thought, what's that guy on Golden State? What's his name from Memphis?
Wiseman?
Yeah, everybody thought Wiseman was going to be all world. Where the hell is he?
I mean, he was injured too. So when people was injured, I give him a little bit of grace.
No, you know what?
Hold on.
Like, there's no 5s in this draft. That everybody, what you think? Mark Williams wasn't 7'9" or whatever his wingspan before he came to the draft combine.
Hold on,
Ron. He averaged 50 points a game at Duke.
Hold on. Let Jake. What's your case for Jalen?
He's just much further along than Mitch is even currently as an offensive playmaker.
God.
As an offensive.
Hold on.
Time out. He's an offensive playmaker, though.
Yo, bro, you know we talking about.
He didn't say defense. He said offense.
He said offense.
He didn't say defense.
No, come on, wait.
Let him talk, bro. Let him talk, bro.
You know we talking about the league, right?
Raw. Time out, Raw.
Yeah, Jalen Duren from day one will be further ahead than Mitchell Robinson currently is as an offensive playmaker, as a short roll passer, as a DHO operator, as someone who's going to you can run actions through as your big man and is not just going to be a rim runner. Yes, I'm confident. I know we're talking about the league. I watch Mitchell Robinson. He's not doing it. He's at 4 years, not doing it.
Because he's not being called to do it. And what makes you think that Tibbs going to make this rookie Jalen all of a sudden, we're going to make him the centerpiece. He's going to be throwing passes for us and everything. Oh, come on, bro. Stop it.
Everyone has short roll opportunities.
Let me tell you something, man. Jericho Sims will eat this boy's lunch right now. Jericho Sims.
Rim runners. Like now we're just talking athletic rim runners. And this is personally where I like diverge when it comes to valuing big men.
How old is he? Like 18, 19?
He's 19, yeah.
That boy going to the G League too. I'll tell you right now.
He's not going to G League.
He's going to G League.
If we draft Jalen,
he's going to G League. I'm telling you right
if we draft Jalen, that's because Mitch isn't here.
Yeah, pretty much.
If we draft Jalen, that's because
if
Mitch isn't here, then Jalen's going to play.
He's definitely going to play.
Because then it's going to be Jalen. It's going to be Jalen and Sims.
No, JLS. Let me tell you something, man. If Mitch Rob leaves, the Knicks are going to go get Mo Bamba, and that's what they need to do. They're going to go get Mo Bamba. They're not starting off with no rookie point guard. Rookie center. I'm telling you.
You know, you might be right about that.
They're not doing that. So if Mitch Rob leaves, they're going to use the mid-level exception, which is about what Mo Bamba would get, and they're going to get Mo Bamba, and he's going to be the guy in here. So forget this Jalen Duren. They're not getting Jalen Duren or Mark Williams or none of these fives in this. No, hell no.
I'm gonna shoot Jason Bell. I'm gonna shoot Jason Bell because we're all going off. All right,
this is where I'm at. I'm not moving. I'm not moving.
No, I expect to change your mind. I'm just
yeah. No, I'm for the record, I'm kind of with Raw. I'm Team Mitch.
Yeah, I'm Team Mitch too.
And especially because we pay that man, right? We see him develop. That man was raw. He was fouling out every game.
Yes. And he is developed, man.
He still can't, man. I think he fouled out like 3 games the year before last and like 2 games last year. To me, he has to develop. He has to set a real screen. Like, come on, you got to set a real screen. And if he sets a real screen and he starts to slowly build out his game, which I think he can, I think he'll be fine. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's ever going to be a shooter. To me, like I always said, he has to start he has to hit free throws first before I can be like, all right, you can be a shooter.
No, I agree.
Hit those free throws first. But to the counterpoint, Jalen isn't really hitting free throws either. So
no, Jalen, it's not the shooting.
Right. But with the edge that I do give to Jalen though, from what I've seen, because I'm not an expert, just from what I'm seeing, doing a little research I've done, is he is a better passer than Mitch is today. He is a better passer than Mitch is today.
I'm saying
Mitch is not abysmal at passing. I've seen Mitch do some nice short roll passes this year, like cutting, see an open man, pass it. I've seen him do that, so I don't think he's hopeless. But Jalen, as of today, is a better passer.
All right, let me say this. Let me say this on Jalen Duren's behalf. Okay, if you whoever drafts him, if you give him 3 seasons, he's going to be really good. He's going to be a defensive Clint Capella, Mitch Robinson anchor defensive dude. I definitely believe that. But that's my point though. By that time, Mitch Rob is defensive player of the year. That's what I'm saying. Why do we want to start over with somebody right now when we have a guy? And if we're going to lose Mitchell Robinson, I still don't want to start over. Mo Bamba is available and he's got NBA experience. And so I would take him for the mid-level exception. But I'm not saying, like, if you're going to tell me you're starting from scratch and you want a center, okay, yeah, I like Duren. I like him like that, but I'm not taking him if I got Mitchell Robinson in his 5th season or if I got Mo Bamba in his 4th season. Nah, I'm taking one of them kids first.
No, I get it. I mean, and that's why like the Jalen Duren conversation it doesn't start with Jalen Duren. It starts with Mitchell Robinson. Like from the Knicks standpoint. That's why that's why you're to lead it. And ultimately, like me and you probably see eye to eye very similarly on Jalen Duren. It's probably more so about Mitchell Robinson, which is totally you're more than entitled to that. I just think, the Knicks are we're in a very interesting point when it comes to team building. Like we talked about Julius Randle a little bit, but like it was about getting off his books to move up in the draft. Like it was probably even like too kind of a conversation to have when we're talking about Randle. And so with Mitch Rob, like, and I think one way or another, like they get off Randle at some point. Like I would be shocked if he rides out the rest of the contract. I don't know what it's gonna take.
No,
but
you're
it just
right.
kind of
yeah,
like yeah, it just like seemed like there was too much. It seemed like there was. I mean, again, like not source in the locker room, just like the stuff that you could pick up from just watching games. Like it seemed like there was so much animosity, which just like made you like it made you like uncomfortable to watch at times.
Yeah,
it was bad.
So I like while I don't know what it's gonna cost the Knicks. It might cost the Knicks a second to get off of it or something. I don't know what it's gonna cost, but like I'm not factoring him into like the long term.
No, agreed.
Yeah, me neither.
Ryan, we agreed on that. Listen, if I got to give up 2 seconds and send him to wherever, I'm sending him. And give me back somebody's dead contract because he's a 100% addition by subtraction. A period.
I agree. I agree with you. So going back in that, so like, I think we're gonna get RJ second deal. What that is remains to be seen. But like, I think we're all pretty comfortable. Like he's made strides. Third overall pick. Like we got something good for them there. So like I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with RJ. Quickly, Obi. I think we also are gonna want their second contracts as well. Like I don't know how lucrative they are. Again, we have the 11th pick now. Who knows what that is? Maybe we trade up. My point is, at some point, and like you've seen this, Atlanta is like kind of the most recent team I can see that's going through this. Like the only downside to continuously hitting on, and Memphis is going to go through this eventually. The only downside to continuously hitting on the draft is that to keep these guys, you have to pay them. It's all sweet when everyone's on their rookie deal and we're stockpiling and we got second year guys contributing, we got third year guys contributing, we got fourth year guys contributing, and then like shit, Atlanta needs to like Cam Reddish. Obviously, that was kind of but he kind of made it easy. But like at one point, it looked like they had Cam, they had Herter, they just brought Bogey. Like it was it's super crowded. They had Hunter. So my point is, in my long-winded response is this: like the Knicks are finally in a place where we have guys that we can like picture being on the team in 3 to 4 years, and I think like that makes me like comfortable. Like I haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah,
and so
very long time.
So the Mitch decision is like pretty serious to me because at some point you don't run out of cap space because like you can go in the tax, like you get off Randall's books, you don't have any big contracts on the books, but those second contracts add up. Like that's my only point, is that they do start to add up. And if we obviously like RJ's contract, I don't think it's gonna be like a max. It's not gonna be cheap. Definitely not, especially after like the climbs he's made. He is a third overall pick. We're gonna want to keep quickly. You're gonna want to keep topping. Like it kind of just builds up, and at some point, like how comfortable are you really with like those three and Mitch and rolling with that? I don't know. So like my counter to be that like you drafting Duren is starting over. I think if you don't see a wild difference between the two, and again that stems from my like us just not seeing eye to eye on Mitch Robinson, which is like it's basketball. So you think he's better than I do. It's totally fine. A side part of that in which I'm a little eased in by the idea of Duren is one, like he has an interesting skill set that I think is a little bit more appealing from a team building perspective, and two, it buys you time. And I think like that's also a part of it for me, is that like I'm not ready to commit that money, and I'm especially not ready to commit that to Mitch just based off like the trajectory that he's been on. That's personally me. Like I completely understand the other side, but I mean that's kind of like my long-winded response to this is it's not necessarily picking between Mitch and Duren. It's like at some point, like we're not used to this because we don't have extended players, but it's like trouble in paradise is that we're hitting on players and we want to keep them and we want to extend them, and like decisions are gonna have to be made. It is kind of my big point.
No, you know what, Jay Rosen, I agree, but I don't think it's as big a problem. And the reason I don't is this: the salary cap is going to be rising.
It's going to be, yep.
So what you have right now in Julius is not as big a hit as it might have been 3 or 4 years ago because of the cap's going to rise. So I'm not worried. And so when you're talking about Mitchell Robinson, $55.6 million over 4 years is basically give or take $14 million. It's a little less than 14. So that's not a big deal. And to me, if you can lock him up for 4 seasons, you will be able to see what you have with all of this crop, because you don't have to pay Obi for another 2 seasons. You don't have to pay IQ for another 2 seasons. And that's why you give these guys, to me, you clear the space from all of these vets and you give these kids as many minutes as you can, because like you said, you want to see what you have. What are you going to invest in 2 seasons from now? Because if they're not the guy, you let them walk, right? Or you trade them while you can. So to me, that's why I'm not worried about Mitchell Robinson. He's 24. He's 24 now. He just turned 24 in April. So you give him for 4 years, you get him until his age 28 contract. And now in that 4-year period, you're going to find out what you have. If you don't have anything, you could always trade. That's $14 million. You could trade that. So
That's my thing.
In about 3 years, that 14 million is going to be close to the mid-level exception, and you could trade him.
I think that's my thing. I don't want to lose anybody for nothing. We kind of groomed him for 4 years, and
yeah.
if we lose him and now don't even get an asset back, that's an L for me. From this organization.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. So even to me, like even if we do sign him for 14, 15, 16, and you're like, okay, well he's still not in the plans for later. But at least you have like I still feel like that's a positive asset because this is the guy who's been drafted the second round, and if there was a redraft from that year, he would go much higher.
Oh yeah.
So I think we have to take advantage of that, whether you're a Mitch fan or not. And I know a lot of people in general philosophy is we don't want to pay big men big money who are just rim runners. They want to pay big men who can do multiple things, and he's not that yet. But there might be a chance that he can exceed that. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion. You've seen flashes, but pay him the money, and I just say pay him the money, at least have it as an asset.
I don't look at it as a lot of money though. 14 million is not.
Yeah, I don't look at it as a lot of money either.
That's not a lot of money, man.
At least have him as an asset to flip later. If that's how you still feel.
Yeah.
At least have him as an asset. Don't let him walk out the door for nothing. Because I don't think he'll be a negative. I don't think he'll be a negative asset. The only thing that I think will make him a negative asset in the long run is if he gets injured. That's
and I think like we've talked about this before too, because we've definitely touched on the fact that the Knicks have all these good young players coming up, and then eventually there's going to come to a point where you're going to have to pay everybody, and the Knicks are not going to have the money to pay everybody. There's going to be one or two guys that's going to walk away from the team because the Knicks don't have enough money. So you do have to think about it and be like, okay, out of all the young guys that we have, who are we willing to resign and who are we willing to let go of?
Right.
So I mean, this is always going to be an issue for the Knicks, regardless. But for me personally, like I'm also on the side of, I feel like even though Mitch is not great as offensively when it comes to like passing and all of those things, but I still feel like, at least with his projections going forward, I still feel like he's still a good asset for the Knicks to invest in, just for the simple fact that, because I mean, me personally, like I think this past season he averaged like 8 points and 8 rebounds a game. Like I could easily see Mitch as he's progressing, that he's going to become a double machine.
Yeah.
Soon that's going to be like more than 10 points a game, more than 10 rebounds a game, and at least to getting a guy that's going to give you double. You at least have a defensive guy that's going to give you, that rim protection. He's going to give you those 10 rebounds a game. He's going to give you those 10 points a game. Because a lot of times I feel like the Knicks don't utilize Mitch properly on offense, and I feel like that's why he doesn't get that many chances to score, because he's an elite rim runner. He's an elite rim runner. He finishes at the basket at an elite rate. So it's like, I feel like if the Knicks utilized him better, he would be averaging 10 plus points a game. He would at least be averaging 12, 14 points a game. So I mean, yeah, I understand the deficiencies in the Mitch's game, but I also feel like that he's at least shown enough to where the Knicks should give him another chance to at least improve with the team. And I mean, if you look at the Knicks history, I cannot remember the last player who the Knicks drafted and they actually re-signed this guy. Like, who's the last player that the Knicks drafted?
But look,
David Lee?
Be honest, who has
David Lee?
I think it's David Lee. Yeah,
who has been Mitch Rob's point guards, man?
That's what I was gonna say.
I mean, come on, give him a real point guard, and to me, if you let's just take Burks off the table and you put IQ and Deuce at the point guard and you let them play with him all year, you're going to see a better player. You're going to see a better play from him and Obi, because we haven't had really any even like average NBA level consistent point guard play in Mitch's whole career. We just haven't had.
We have a 4 and a 5 who are elite play finishers, yet no one to throw them the lob. Like it's counterintuitive. And I think it's in many ways this draft is wonky for the Knicks, because there's not like we talked about a lot of guys, and we talked about guys that I'm excited about. They're good prospects, yet it's a little square peg in a round hole ish, just because like I love Johnny Davis.
Trade up for Ivy.
But it's like, I love Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis like might go through shooting slumps like early in the year. I love AJ Griffin. AJ Griffin might not be able to do anything off the dribble, and like that would, do the Knicks need more of that? Like even if he brings floor spacing, I don't know. We talked about Mathurin. Mathurin is gonna space the floor. not doing stuff off the dribble. Jalen Duren, love that. Skilled prospect. We have a 5 that we're like in contract limbo with. Like for every guy that the Knicks like is a good prospect and at that range is good, there's a big caveat. So I'm like probably more fascinated with this draft than I've been in a long time for the Knicks.
It's interesting. It is interesting.
It's going to be, and I do think, you know, not only will their pick or their moves tell us a lot about their evaluations, but I think it'll look internally about what they do think they have.
Yeah,
I know last year I was a little upset because I wanted Sharif Cooper really badly, and FLB just kept trading back and trading back and trading back.
Yeah,
and taking anyone but Sharif Cooper. I thought that was your point guard, but time will tell. You know, he's
man. Did you see Juice just like jump over him and flush it on the summer league though?
I didn't want Sharif for his rim protection.
Juice caught the inbounds pass and just jumped over that midget and flushed it. That's all I'm saying.
My point is, like, you know, the Knicks process last year, while it ended up, I actually like the players. Like Grimes been good, Deuce been good. I was annoyed because I didn't feel like they were aggressive enough. And like, you know, in hindsight, they acquired stuff. They got off like they probably knew what they were doing. And I probably didn't. Like that's usually how it goes. But I think this year is gonna be super interesting because, you know, I don't think there is much equity to trading back. I don't think there will be a lot of guys trying to trade up to 11. I think you're gonna have to get up there and make a pick. And there's no consensus. There's no right guy. There will be, in my opinion, as like someone who takes the scouting stuff very seriously, a bunch of good options. A lot of places where you can't, like, there are a lot of ways when Knicks don't fuck this up, in my opinion. Like, and you know, whether they pan out or not, who's to say? But from a scouting perspective, like there are a bunch of players in this range that I would say, good job. Like you got up there, made the pick. But
that's true.
A lot of them, it's gonna show. Both I think how the Knicks evaluate them, what skill sets they're prioritizing, and how they view the internal prospects. Because of course we're not in the building. They're in the building every day. They see these guys in practice. They know, I mean, way more than we do about anything and everything. So I'm very fascinated by what they do at 11.
No, you're right. I mean, like that's why I said in the beginning, Jake was like, you know, at 11, you were saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, Jake, but you were saying you're going to get a good player at 11. You're going to get somebody good. And that's what I'm saying. So you could, to me, get a game changer if you could possibly move up. But if all else fails and you don't move up, you're going to get a good guy at 11. Whether, you know, even like I'm not that high on Davis, but I consider Davis a solid guy. He'd be a solid pick. I love Sohan. I like Tari Eason. I like Ogbaji. I like Malachi Branham. You got a lot of options that you really can't screw up at 11. So
I agree with you.
So if they can move up, I think there's a chance to get a game changer. But if not, okay, we can get something good at 11.
Absolutely. Yep. I'm in lockstep there.
Yeah, I think this is a good place to end it, man. This is a good place to end it. Consensus. A lot of decent pleadings at 11.
Jake's been the best guest we had, man. I like him even better than Berman. He's been good. He's
good. Gunshots for Jake. Don't tell Berman he said that, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, because we would like Berman to come back, you know.
Yeah, I like to get Berman back. But Jake is better, man. I like Jake. Jake is more passionate. He ain't putting that pie in the sky. I heard the rumor of we getting LeBron ball, you know.
Nah, Jake is a real. This is the reason why I keep asking Jake back. I
appreciate you guys having me. Like this is for me as fun as it gets. Like it's real basketball, and you know it wouldn't. If I made it 2 hours, I'd getting put in the hot seat. I mean, I kind of did it to myself when I'm asking, what do you guys think about Mitchell Robinson's second contract? Like, that's like, you know the meme. It's like the meme. It's like don't ask a man what he makes. Like don't ask a woman her age. Like don't ask a Knicks fan Mitchell Robinson's second contract.
Nah, don't ask a Knicks fan today.
You just stepped on my new Adidas, man.
These are the conversations I want to have. So this was
okay.
What
do you think of Emmanuel quickly? Hold on.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
Oh man, that's gonna be like another half hour.
I know.
The question is Emmanuel quickly the point guard of the future?
Yeah, it's Emmanuel quickly the point guard of the future. Whoa. Yo, oh, man.
I'm Deuce game all in, baby. That's me.
Yo, I'm in.
I like Emmanuel quickly now.
I like Emmanuel quickly.
So do I.
I want Deuce. I want to see him get 30 minutes a game for just 15 games, and let's see what happens.
I will say this in my man quickly, right? The passing that he's shown towards the second half of the season has made me very hopeful that he can be a cog in the offense steadily, especially if he's paired with Obi Toppin, because those two guys are like wonder twins or something. I don't know if they have like psychic abilities or what, but they always seem to find each other, and his ability to rebound kind of meshes, and his ability to kind of throw like go ahead pass kind of meshes with Obi's speed in the open court, like that. My thing with man quickly is watching these playoffs. Man, they really hunt. Like they really hunt these shorter guards.
Oh
like,
yeah,
they
do.
really.
Oh yeah.
And quickly he's a pretty good defensive guard, and I kind of feel like for the season, if we decide to go quickly next season to start, I feel like I feel like he can tear up the regular season, and then when it gets to like the playoffs, he might have some problems. Like I watch because I'm looking at quickly. I seem like Dollar Tree Trae Young, right? That's how I see him, right? In my
Dollar
mind.
Tree Trae Young.
Dollar Tree Trae Young. Right? Like he kind of like foul baits. He can shoot the three from the half, damn near half court. The playmaking is not on his level, but it's growing, and he actually plays better defense than Trae Young.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, of course, yeah.
But like when he got to Miami, man, they just put the size on him, and they just wore him down.
And that's what Boston is doing. What you got Tatum guarding Curry,
right?
Most of the time. So and they got Marcus Smart guarding Draymond Green.
Yeah.
So like to me, the only way to kind of combat that, if you're going to have quickly as a starter, is to have some big guy next to him who can play defense and be like help out and also do some playmaking too, because. Like I feel like 48 minutes of that or 30 minutes of that is gonna wear him down eventually. So that's one of the biggest takeaways.
I'm not as worried because to me, like when you're watching Boston, those guys have played together for what 3 or 4 years now. 4 years. All those guys.
Yeah.
So you're watching
longer,
you're watching a graduate school course in playoff basketball because those guys have played together. The Knicks are not even at that level yet, but we need to build the framework so that we can let these guys play together for a while and build a framework like that. But we just have to do it. Last year we wasted a year, but I'm hoping this season we can make up some time.
Absolutely.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's my little quickly soliloquy. I don't know. I'm out. All right, that is our show. Hold on. First of all, my bad. Shout out to Jason M who sent the 2.2 chat like 3 hours ago. My bad, man. He said, good comp for John Davis is Alec Burks with defense. Alec Burks with defense.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is like, see, Davis to me is a perfect college basketball player. My problem is that I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not saying he will or he won't, but I'm saying he can play at the 45 RPM in college. I'm not sure if he can do all those things at the 78 RPM in the NBA. That's all. If he might, and Ryan, Jake opened my eyes to something. I didn't know he was dealing with an ankle issue. Like I didn't know that's what's causing it, because there was a lack of pop. I noticed the lack of explosion, and I didn't know if that's just he didn't have it. Now you're telling me he got, maybe that's what it was. So I mean,
he's still not super. I would recommend go watching like, early January, like early in Big Ten comp. But even then, he gets to his spots. He's very efficient with movements, but it's not like necessarily straight line burst. He has such a high IQ. He makes the right pass. He puts himself in the right defensive position. He really is a really solid, really good player. But I'm just wondering if his game translates to the NBA in terms of the speed and power of the NBA game. That's my only concern. If it does, he's going to be a solid pro. But if not, he's going to have a problem. No, that's definitely fair. Definitely fair.
Yeah. All right. I think this is a good time to wrap it up for right now. All right. So, Jake, let them know where they can find you, man.
You can follow me at Twitter at Jake in the Paint. We're in the heat of draft season now, so you can find me tweeting clips, tweeting takes. I'm gonna be writing some content for our Substack at Cerebro Sports. I just wrote about Tari Eason and Jeremy Sohan, so that's linked to my Twitter profile. Did a little work. If you want to kind of go back, I wrote about Paul Banchero and Jabari Smith. I wrote about Chet and Kennedy Chandler early in the year. That's at the Stepien. And then weekly, Mark Schindler and I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but super smart, covers the NBA, does some draft stuff as well. We do a weekly podcast called Tag the Roll, talking about draft stuff. We're going to be doing a live show during the draft. So if you want to come tap into that and watch the draft with us while we react to the picks, I feel like that's gonna get some cold take bulletin board material, instant reactions to the draft, but it should be fun. So yeah, it's big time. June is very busy. I'm gonna be writing, tweeting. So hit my DMs if you want to talk basketball or anything like that. They're always open. And yeah, just stay on the lookout for all that stuff. I appreciate you guys for having me. This is not even no BSing. This is one of my favorite stops.
Man, I always love having you here, man. I always have really a lot of fun when Jake comes here. And it's funny because I don't always agree with him, but I just like the way he breaks things down.
No, I like his passion. He loves the game, man. He loves the game.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
That's all you can do. No, we're not supposed to all agree out here. But...
Exactly. All right. Yo, Raw, let them know where they can find you, man.
Raw Hebrew Remnant on YouTube. Raw Hebrew Remnant on Twitter. That's all you need. Well, I'm on Patreon, but I sent on Twitter. I sent a Patreon video to Twitter, so you can get me a Raw Hebrew Remnant repping Patreon as well. That money that goes to Patreon, as y'all know, is designated for the Philippines. It buys rice and food for mostly single parents there.
All right. Shout out to Raw. Good pause. All right, Ryan, you already know, man. Where can they find you, sir?
You can find me on Instagram at Sir G is chilling.
Sir G is chilling.
All right.
That's SIRG is CHILLIN. You can also find me on Twitter at Ryan G KOT. And I also got my sports page, which is on, I'm still working on it. Still working on a few things, but it's Sir G's Corner. So you check that out also.
All right. Cool. And you already know to find us. Shout out to Mikey. He just wrote a new article at the Knick Time Show talking about Johnny Pryor and those guys. So definitely check out knicktimeshow.com. You can listen to us on all social media platforms. You can buy our merch at knicktimeshow.com as well. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, all that noise. And follow us on Twitter at the KOT Show and also Instagram and Facebook at the Knick of Time Show. All right. And I'm man, I know I've been silent, but I'm silently working on something too. So, all right. I'm silently working on something. I'm
for the summer.
Man, I was trying to do it last year. Technical stuff happened. I'm trying to bust something out this summer that's different. So hopefully we can finally get it out here, but hold tight, guys. All right. Hold tight. That is our show. Jake, man, whenever you want to come by, if you just want to be like, yo, I want to jump on, open invitation, come through. All right.
Love that. I appreciate you guys.
All right, yo. All right. That is our show. Oh yeah, you already know the drill, as always.
Shout out to World Wide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here in these Knick streets. That is our show. We out of here.
Peace.
Peace.